What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Gridiron Virtual League. Today, before I start, I just want to say that we're going to get back to having some more regularly scheduled content. I know I've been doing the Gridiron Virtual League, and that's been taking up most of my time. But we're going to be getting back to our regularly scheduled content. I'm gonna have more content for you guys, and a lot of Axis football content for you guys. Some challenges, some what ifs, kind of testing the limits of the gameplay. But today I'm gonna come to you guys with the Axis Football 2021 wish list. We got a lot of stuff this year, a lot of cool stuff. The game graphically, in my opinion, at the very least, looks better. We have a better franchise mode, which is what I'll be talking about the most today. Not today, but what I'll be talking about the most as of right now. So let's actually get right into it. As you can see, there's a lot of teams that I have on here. It's a mix of the NFL teams and some of the created teams, both for the Gridiron Virtual League and for myself. So as we start, you know what? Let's get into it. I'm gonna to start this off. I'm just gonna go with the Los Angeles Rams. We're gonna start we're gonna do random tier placement. Start the franchise, and all right. So here's the wish list. And actually, another thing before I do start, actually, I would like to say that if you do have a simulation league, be sure to check out Axis Stats. And there's going to be a link in the description. A community member by the name of Tater Hater released this website, and basically it's a website that allows you to if you're playing on PC, I should say, it allows you to upload your game logs, your game spreadsheet, and you can find the stats for your team. So let's say you just played a whole season with your team, and you didn't play on franchise. Let's say you, for whatever reason, you were playing on exhibition. You can go through, find all of those logs, and put them into this website, which, again, I will link in the description, but it is something great to use. We use it for the Gridiron Virtual League to keep our stats, so we know who's the best at what, who's performing great. I will say the only downside is that it doesn't track defensive stats too well. Most notably, it doesn't track the interceptions all too well. But other than that, it's something great to use. So now, after much delay, I will get into the Axis Football 2021 wish list. And the first section of this is franchise. We're going to go over gameplay next and customization last, but the first section is franchise, going over just a few of the top ones that I've seen. So the first one that we're going to go over is an NFL style setup. So a lot of people do like the tier setup. You know, you see here there's 3 tiers, and the tiers are basically going tier 3, you have the worst teams, tier 2, middle of the pack, and tier 1, that's the top. Those are the top dogs of them. So you see you have tier 3, 12 teams in tier 3, you have 12 teams in tier 2, and you have 12 teams in tier 1. The only difference with tier 1 is tier 1 gets the better playoff scheduling because 8 teams can go into the playoffs out of 12 teams. So that there is pretty cool. But something I've seen is that some people want an NFL style setup. Some people are more accustomed to the NFL and are playing this game because they don't want to deal with Madden, and they want to play something else that is, for the community, basically made by people in the community who were upset with, what options were given to them for simulation football. So the first item on the wish list is 2 conferences and 8 divisions. So instead of this 3-tier setup, even though there are 36 teams, maybe just choosing 4 teams that you can cut out, and being able to do an NFL style setup as far as the conferences and the scheduling and all of that. But also there's 16 games, and the 16 games are kind of, from what I've noticed, at random. In this season, I do play. Okay, so in this season, as you can see, so there are 12 teams in I'm sorry, that's tier 1. So in tier 3, there are 12 teams. The Ravens, the Crocs, which is one of the teams I made, the Bears, the Wolves, the Broncos, the Panthers, the Packers, Colts, Chiefs, Chargers, Rams, and Patriots. Now, if I go here, I don't think I play all of the teams. There's 11 other teams. I play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh no. I think I do play all the other teams. I messed up on that one. But either way, if you have played this game, you do know what I'm talking about though. Generally, when you like, so okay, for example, if you look at week 11 versus Baltimore, and then week 15 versus Baltimore again, that doesn't make any sense. It should be at Baltimore versus Baltimore, or versus Baltimore at Baltimore, something like that. That's how it should be set up, and that's how more people are accustomed to. But also, just the scheduling could go, instead of 16 weeks, 17 weeks in a bye. I don't know if certain people like that or not, but I think for those who are more accustomed to watching the NFL and are more accustomed to those rules, they would like seeing something like that. Now, the next thing is, and this is kind of with gameplay, but not really. But everyone that's played this game has seen the Ask Mike option. Now, I'm going to go to the front office and show you something. So, everyone has seen the Ask Mike option. But I think that, and this is community wish list. So, I also do think that it would be cool to have an Ask Offensive Coordinator, Ask Defensive Coordinator. Because you have Offensive Coordinator, and so my Offensive Coordinator has a offensive evaluation of A. It has an offensive A, has an evaluation of C, a development of C+, a defensive D, a motivation of B, and a discipline of B+. Now, for coaches, I don't know what motivation or discipline does. I guess motivation might help boost some player stats, but my offensive coordinator has an A in offense. I think that should mean if my offensive coordinator has an A in offense, and I press the button to ask my offensive coordinator, they should give me a play that is going to be super successful. As opposed to, let's say we switch these. Let's say my offensive evaluation was a D and my defensive evaluation was an A for my offensive coordinator. Maybe my offensive coordinator selects a really bad play. Let's say it's 3rd and long, and they suggest we do a draw play instead of a passing play. And that's just one example of what kind of immersion can be brought into this game. And so with that being said, same thing can be said, with the defensive coordinator. You see my defensive coordinator has an offensive D+ and a defensive C. That should mean that when I press offensive ask defensive coordinator, maybe they should be suggesting 6-man fronts the entire game against a team that does nothing but, let's say, nothing but pass. So we don't need to load up on the front line, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, and then the special teams coordinator, I guess you could do the same thing. Maybe there should be a special teams kind of stat. I'm not entirely sure, but you guys get the idea. The suggestions that the coaches give you shouldn't be random. They should be based off of the coach. And this does tie into something else, but we'll get there. We'll get there a little later. Now, the next thing that I think would be really cool, and this one is from me. I didn't see this one in the community. If this is in the community, awesome. But this one is from me. I think it would be super cool to have relocation teams. There's a lot of different options. You can upgrade your facilities, as you guys see here. You can upgrade and purchase facilities. You can upgrade and purchase transportation, all of that stuff. But you can't relocate. And I think it would be really cool. Like, let's say I was playing with the base teams. Let's say I was playing with the Arizona Heat, which happens to be one of my favorite teams, actually. It used to be is it the Ironbirds? I believe it's Pittsburgh. I believe it's the Ironbirds. I know they were called the Steelmen at one point. But I think it would be really fun, let's say, okay, I have the Arizona Heat. Let's say I want to relocate them to Miami. Let's say I want to make them the Miami Heat, and I want to change their colors to resemble what the NBA has. Let's say I want to do that. I can't do that. And actually, I'm going to go back into franchise because that does creep into customization a little bit. But within your franchise, I think it would be really cool to have relocation settings for not only just your team, but the league as well. Now, the next thing that I would like to go over is in-depth statistics for the O-line and the D-line, offensive line and the defensive line. So I'm going to simulate, just in case someone hasn't seen, I'm going to simulate a few games. It doesn't matter, I only need to simulate one, but just to show you guys, I'm simulating a few games. Now, if I go into stats and I go into team leaders, we have passing stats, rushing stats, receiving stats, and defensive stats. Now, there are no stats for your O-lineman. You will not find an O-lineman that has any stats. You won't. Even if you go into your personnel, you go into your depth chart. Actually, no, you can't do it from here, but at the end of the season, you can do it. Nope, you can do it from right here. So if I go into my offensive line, I click on this guy, go to career stats, nothing. There are no offensive lineman stats, so I don't know how well they're performing. I don't know how many sacks they're giving up. I don't know how many times they've been pressured, how many times they've pancaked. I don't know any of these stats. So really, I think we should get blocking stats. And then for the defensive line, all they have is tackles. So you see he has 23 tackles and 2 sacks, I'm sorry. And he has 1 recovery. Like, that's cool, that's nice. But I think that we should see more varied stats for these guys. I think that we should see, just more interactive stats, because I don't think it's fair to put up a defensive lineman against. Actually, let's check. I don't remember all too well, but I'm gonna simulate to the end of the season and see. Because I don't think that you can get D lineman of the year or O lineman of the year, and I think that would be something really cool to put into the game. I think that would be really, really immersive. So we're at week 15. We are now in week 16. Okay, so you see for the stats here, we have league MVP, offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year. We have rookie of the year, quarterback of the year, running back of the year, receiver of the year, defensive. Okay, so there is a defensive lineman of the year. I didn't know that. But we should have more in-depth stats for the O-line, more in-depth stats for the D-line. And I'm going to add on that, now that I know that the D-line is in the yearly awards, I think that we should have maybe kicker of the year too, or maybe or maybe not punter. Not entirely sure how people feel about that, but definitely kicker of the year. I also like to see that some players are winning multiple awards, but I do think that we can just do a little better on the statistics. And I will also mention, since we have, are there 3 quarterbacks on here? Yeah, there are 3 quarterbacks on here. All of them have, 72, 72, and 75. I know that's going to irk some people. I have seen on the Access Football Discord that, some people don't really like the super, super high completion percentages. I haven't seen too many high completion percentages. I know some people are saying they're seeing 80, 90, whatever. I don't know if this is going to irritate people all too much. It doesn't irritate me. I think that this is pretty good. I will say that I always see a couple 5,000 yards in passing almost all the time. I do also not really understand how stats work. Like, okay, so see this here. Aaron Rodgers, 5,200 yards, 33 touchdowns, 71 completion percentage. I want to know where he ranked and why he didn't get league MVP, or OPOTY. I'm not gonna harp on that too much though. But that does actually lead into the next thing, which is the Pro Bowl. I think we should have a Pro Bowl in this game. I think it would be really, really cool to have a Pro Bowl because look at this. We have some really nice league leaders. Aaron Rodgers led in passing. Um, and we had Peyton leading in touchdowns, Mackenzie leading in passer rating. It'd just be really nice if, oh, look at this, and even yards per game. Aaron Rodgers led in yards per game, yards per completion. So I think it would be really cool to have a Pro Bowl where we can see, let's say we have Aaron Rodgers, Kinski, and Cunningham, who all had 5,000 plus yard seasons, going up against a team of other quarterbacks. So, I think that would be really cool to see. And a small side note that's not going to get its own section in the video, I think that we should have, that the other teams should swap out, should substitute more often, especially when they have a certain player that's not going to. Actually, this will get its own section. I think that the opposing teams should, let's say their running back only is on let's say 15 carries has only got 10 yards. Maybe we should bench him. Maybe we should bench him and put in our backup and see if the backup does better. Because maybe he's just having an off day. I think that would be really good. But the next thing is immersive announcers. So I've noticed after simulating maybe 15 seasons of Axis football in the last week maybe, that for running backs, and I know I harp on running backs a lot. I like running backs. But every team has a player that if they were in the NFL would basically make the Pro Bowl every single year. There would just be too many. Like the top, I think it's the top 30. No, yeah, the top 31 running backs eclipsed 1,000 yards for the season. The top 7 eclipsed 2,000 yards for the season, and that's a tall task in the NFL at least. So and that might since I simulated all of these games, that's a lot to say about the simulation engine. So maybe there should be an upgrade in the simulation engine. But this leads into what I'm saying about the immersive, what I want to say about immersive announcers. So the announcers repeat a lot of their dialogue, which is fine. This is a small scale game, but let's see. So right here, Jordan has 2,400 yards in a season, and let's say that's the season standard. Now, let's say that is the most that any running back ever in the history of Axis football has ever gotten. Let's say that happens. I think that next year, let's say B Chambers, let's say he hits 2,500 and Jordan gets injured, so he can't compete. The announcer should say, whether it's your game or you're the one that's actually rushing with Chambers, they should be like, oh, hey, he just broke the rushing record. Just something simple like that. I think it would be really nice that the game understands that you've done something. I just think that would be really cool. Okay, I had to come back and edit the video and do a real quick just side note. So everyone that plays Axis, I shouldn't say everyone, but everyone that's in that Axis Football Discord knows about the coach league that they have going on. I think it would be really cool if they possibly could find, if they can find and work a 36 team league and divide it into tiers and do all of this stuff the same, basically set up a real life franchise, a real life, I guess you can call it connected franchise, the same way that they have it in the game. And the stats from the previous season will go into the game, and the players and the coaches and all of that stuff will go into the game. So whomever is controlling the Dallas Stampede, they get to be in the game as a head coach, and maybe they're programmed to have certain badges because they performed so well in the previous season. And I just think that would be really cool. And then also that can tie into what I'm going to talk about. In I don't know if I talked about. Actually, I don't think I did talk about it. Um, but I thought I was going to talk about it. Basically, a fantasy draft. So if we get a fantasy draft, you can base who picks first based off of what happened in the previous real life season, just like how the NFL does with Madden. And maybe not having live stats for this game and live updates for this game, maybe not doing that, but just so whatever the previous season that we just had for Axis Football in Axis 2021, if some of those stats can be imported, which would make it a little unbalanced. But you guys see what I'm saying? Like, if they can do that, I think that would be really, really cool. I think that that would be really great for the Axis Football community. So, there is some it would just make it a lot more immersive, and that could help people start to find their favorite teams because they see how those teams are playing in the on Twitch or on YouTube or whatever. And then you show it to someone and they're like, oh my goodness, like I like this. I like this team. I like how they're moving. I like their running back or whatever. And now they want to play Axis Football. I just think that would be really cool. That's just me though. Now, the next thing would be franchise and league stats like Madden. So what I mean by that is, and we already, and I shouldn't have said league stats because in team ranks you can already get the league, stats. You can already see all of that. Um, you see all of this stuff for the most part. But what I mean by the franchise stats more so is, let's say that and let me go into franchise records when I say this. So you see how it says most total yards right there, and it have most pass yards, most rush yards, least total yards, least pass yards, least rush yards. I would like to see, okay, who was my best rusher, and when did they, what season was their best season? Stuff like that. Just basically have a Hall of Fame for your team. So something like that, just like how in Madden, I can go into the stats, and if I want to see who are the top 10 best rushers the league has ever seen, I can go in and I can look, and it'll say, okay, well, such and such ran for this much, such and such ran for that much, such and such ran for that much, and you can break those records. And the announcers in Madden will say something about that. So these two just kind of tie in the league stats and the immersive announcers, just to add another level of immersion. And it just makes it a little better in my opinion. Now, the last thing, this is something that I also put in here, is a weekly wrap up the same way. Like if you played ESPN NFL 2K5, you should know what I'm talking about. At the end of the week, so like if I well, I'm not going to simulate a game because that's going to cause issues. But like, so this right here, you get to see the offensive player of the week, defensive player of the week, and you can see all of this stuff. I think it would be really cool if at the end of the week we have one of the announcers come up and say, and just have a little small video and talk about who did the best. What are the notable injuries? What are the notable trades? What are the notable free agency pickups? All of that stuff. What playoff implications are at place for the week coming? All of those things I think would be really, really cool for this game to have. So that's all that I'm going to say for franchise mode. I said so much about franchise, and this video is already at 21 minutes. So I'm actually going to end this video right here, and we're going to have a gameplay video that's going to be a separate video. And if the gameplay video ends up being super long as well, then you guys will get a third video that'll be a customization video, and I'll be sure to put them in a playlist so you guys can see all of them so you don't miss anything. But thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next video, which will be up shortly after this one, if not probably the day of. Thank you.